Welcome back, folks. In the last video, we added this nice border to our details, and we're slowly finishing up this nice view, but there's one last thing on this view that we haven't taken into account. We have seen that we default as due date to be off, but look what happens when I turn it on. The picker doesn't turn on. So somehow we have to associate this switch to this picker. So when the picker is on, when the switch is on, the picker should be enabled. When the switch is off, the picker should be disabled. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up an event handler which will trigger whether or not the picker should be enabled depending on whether or not the switch is on. So let's get those two to work together. So I'm going to go into my add and edit. I'm first going to make the event handler itself. So I'm going to make an extension for my add and edit controller. We've made one event handler already in this series of videos, and that was for deciding whether or not the add button should be turned on in the quick add. So this is another event handler based on the switch. So here we go. It's going to be a function. Remember, we want to give an event handler a meaningful name, so we're going to call it switch did change. Now the parameter is going to be a switch, so I'm going to call this I'll just call it the switch, and I'll make sure it's a UI switch. Now, whenever the switch goes on, we want the picker to be enabled. Whenever the switch goes off, we want the picker to be disabled. So in both cases, we're changing the enabled status of the picker. So let's say self dot the due date, self dot, due date dot is enabled is simply going to equal the switch dot is on. So if the switch is on, this is true, which means the due date will be enabled. If the switch is not on, this is false, which means it won't be enabled. Okay, great. Now we do have the appropriate event handler. We now have to set it up using a target action. So what are we going to associate this event handler to? We're going to associate the event handler to the as due date switch. So right here, I'm going to say self.as due date dot target. Let me just say here dot add target. Sorry about that. The target will be itself. The selector will be pound selector. And then the name of the method we just made, which is switch did change, and the event will be where is it? Dot value changed. So whenever the value changes on the due date, this switch did change is going to get called. When it gets called, it's going to enable or disable the due date. So here we have it again. Let's read it out. As due date has a new target, which is based on self, which calls this method for this event. Let's give it a shot. Okay. So, let's go into our ad screen and let's turn on the due date, and there we go. The picker is activated. We turn it off, the picker's gone. So now we've associated the due date with the picker. So now we have a pretty fully functional view, which we're going to start actually using in the next few videos. Thank you very much.